Tonight, maybe on Back to the Future Live. This is going to be a different kind of show. Airpower bites the dust. Apple's arcade might be more about augmented reality than just games. Is it time for Tim Cook to start thinking differently during product releases? And lastly, is it time for Apple to make their next bold move away from Intel? Tonight on the Back to the Future livecast. Go! Okay, it took us a while, almost a half hour, I guess, to get things going. We are not on Mimo Live because we are having performance issues. On Mimo Live, we don't really know why. It's just not working. I'm not super happy about it. But what I am happy about is that I finally have Warren and Dave on. Let's start with Dave. Hello, Dave. How are you, sir? Mr. Blurred background.
How's it going? Don't I look good? You get to see me and that's it.
Just like all blurred out.
See my hat at least.
What's up with that?
It's a new Skype feature that we just got to use it so I can be blurred.
Okay. Well, we can, and sometimes blur is not a bad thing.
Looks good too. I'm looking at it on the live feed.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can figure that out. But I was so worried on just trying to get everything going that I just didn't even think about that. But we also have live from Guatemala, because I don't have lower thirds set up in OBS, Mr. Warren Sklar. How are you, sir?
I'm awesome. How are you? Oh, what is that? Wait a second. Wait, it's SpongeBob.
It's SpongeBob.
Hi. Anyways, I'm good.
And what made you do that?
Well, I'll tell you. So, my wife worked for a financial institution. This has a backstory. My wife worked for a financial institution called BlackRock for 23 years, and she did excellent. A couple of months ago, she decided she wanted to do something else, so she retired from there, and she's going to take the summer off, and she's going to find something else.
Right.
So I've been living with her, full time now, which is interesting. Well, my son's also home, so now I have my wife and my son home all the time, pretty much. So they took over the office and the kitchen. So I am up in a different area of the house, which is my bedroom. That we have a desk up here that's blurred. And what brought that about? I'm sitting at a desk I haven't sat at since probably the late 90s, I would say. And all of a sudden there's stuff here. SpongeBob is here that I saw. A picture of my dog from, not this dog, but my last dog. Oh, wait, this is fun. I got this as something when I first went into the computer business. It's basically a computer with a business card holder in there. Look at that.
It's a Mac, isn't it?
Kind of.
It's
No, it's PC.
It's a PC. But it's got the ports and everything. It gets even better, guys. Wait a second. Don't go anywhere. This is for some reason blank. Are they DVDs or CDs? They're blank DVDs. Just sitting on the desk.
I got a crap ton of those.
Well, I do too, but they're mostly downstairs. But why they're on the desk is a mystery. And that's mostly it. A couple.
Worthy of Scooby and the gang.
Oh, right. Not even a micro USB cable. This is before micro. This is the big fat ones. So it's just like a plethora of junk.
For people wondering, we had double audio because I couldn't get the NDI. I know this is going behind the scenes. I couldn't get the NDI audio to work when I was trying to get everything set up. But now that we're actually live, apparently anytime I bring in David or I bring in Warren, their audio through MDI comes through at the same time as the loopback audio from loopback comes through. That was what the double audio was. So now I'm going to switch over to Dave.
Yes.
Hello, Dave.
Hello.
And your audio is doing the same thing. So I'm going to silence that and make it so that it's just the loopback device that's bringing in audio. Okay, so all of the double audio should be gone now. And I apologize for all of the issues. Now we're going to switch over. Wait do you see this? This is the improvised 3-shot thing that I've set up in OBS. Now, the one thing that I don't have set up in OBS is your comments, the Facebook comments. And I actually could do that, but I was so focused on just getting you guys in.
It's basically just Marcus making fun of me, so don't worry about the Facebook comments.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, we can make fun of you just as easily as he can.
Well, he's pretty good at it. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, shall we go over to the stories because we are so.
I would love to do that.
Yes.
And
look,
I apologize again for all of the. Why are you bringing all this stuff up?
He's in his office. He hasn't been in for like years.
Literally in a part of my house that I didn't know existed until like 20 minutes ago. So okay, go ahead.
How long have you lived in this house?
A long
Obviously,
time.
since the 90s. It was that room that nobody went into anymore.
It was supposed to be my work room, but I never worked. So,
okay, well, if you guys, because I can't do all this and keep an eye on the comments. So if you guys can keep an eye on the comments and let me know when something cool comes up.
Marcus says I'm an idiot. Marcus says, okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, as long as it's consistent. All right, first story. Airpower turned out to be nothing but a big win. This is a story from TechCrunch. Airpower, the wireless charging device Apple claimed would be released last year, has been canceled. Apple says they could not create the device to their own high standards satisfactory. Most experts claim that the project, which was supposed to charge 3 Qi-enabled devices at the same time, ran into a problem with physics and heat generation. You would think that a company with as much money as Apple could create their own kind of physics. You know, I don't understand that at all. So, what do you think about that, Dave?
What do I think about it? I think it's the biggest laugh of Apple. I mean, this is crazy. 2 years ago, they say, "Yeah, look at this great mat that's about to come out," and what happens? They cancel it.
They can't do it.
I mean, I honestly, I think they really what they should have done was, you know what, guys, let's just move this to third party. Let the professionals do it. That's what they do. You know, a company like Anchor, a company like, you know, a lot of these companies are making these Qi charging mats as it is already, and they just should have just done that. And we'd have had a product that was being sold at the Apple Store, and we could have bought it. But no, Apple tried their might.
They do. Well, I think they do sell. Don't they sell Qi powered?
They do. There's a Belkin
just not
one,
their own branded.
It's a smaller size though. It's not an actual full out mat. At least I haven't seen one in the Apple Store. But this is the mat versus just a small rounded Qi charger. So, you know, because you want the mat to be big enough to charge 3 devices. You know, your phone, your watch, and your AirPods. And,
yeah, but doesn't that just kind of come down to, if you have 3 devices, then you have something relatively large with 3 hotspots. The whole thing with the Apple AirPower was that it didn't matter what 3 devices you put down and which 3 devices, you know, you didn't have to put them on a particular spot. You could put them anywhere you want, and it was supposed to just work.
Yeah.
And I guess nobody's able to do that.
No, I mean it doesn't seem like it. So, but no, at least Apple was smart. They admitted their mistake and they're moving on.
Okay, what do you think, Warren?
Yeah,
you need to get closer. You're so far away.
No.
Thank you. Oh, God. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. There's close, and then there's too close.
This is a whole new area. I can't gauge where I am.
A whole
So the
new world.
The Airpower is definitely something that I had no interest of getting. I mean, unless the thing was like $50 or $60, which wasn't going to be.
No, not from Apple.
It's a charging mat, and I personally have probably 3 or 4 pads in the house,
Right.
cheap pads and stuff like that. I don't find it that much more convenient than plugging in a cable. And for the times that I charge my stuff at night, I'm looking at my phone in bed, which most people do before they go to bed. A long cable is more convenient. I could have my thing on the cable, have it charged.
Now you're talking about cheap powered devices when you say thing, right?
Well, yeah.
Because you are in your bedroom, so I just wanted to make that clear.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In a non-sexual way, I'm using my phone in bed with a long cable. So,
Ooh,
so yeah.
Is it at least? Is it? Well, I see. Is it like 6 inches long? The cable? I'm just checking. All right, never. You know what? I'm in a bad mood, and I'm just not going to places that I just should not go.
So I charge my Qi. Yes. Anyhow, my final thought on this is basically my main thought is I think Apple actually screwed themselves long before this because of a couple things. First of all, they made the watch proprietary wireless charging, not Qi. That was their first mistake. They did it probably because they're Apple. We could do that. There was probably no reason they could have not gone to Qi charging. The second thing they did was waited longer than everybody else to get on the wireless phones bandwagon. And when they started to do it, they had to hype it up. So they needed a product out there that was kind of say, "Hey,
you're sliding out of screen, Warren."
Don't worry about it. I'm on a. It's a.
You're on a rant.
It's a chair. I'm a rant on a chair. Anyway, so
in bed.
So they need to talk it up. So if the watch was a normal Qi charger, what you said before, then it wouldn't matter. You could put the phone watch or AirPod case anywhere on a normal Qi charger because that's the standard. The watch screws it up because now you got to put in little coils everywhere that's specific to the watch. That's probably what killed them. I bet that's what's killed them because I had to put that in there.
So they needed a separate type of charging circuit just for the watch.
You need a whole separate type of charger.
Yeah.
It's like, and Qi, a long time ago, even before Qi was a word, they had these. I think I got a Radio Shack once, but it was before it was a Qi pet. It was a charging mat. Basically, wireless charging, is just magnets. It's one big magnet connecting to another big magnet, creating a solid circuit to charge the device. That's why you have to put a square on there. It's like a magnet onto it. And these have been around forever, and it's not that exciting until they come out with something that's more real, wireless, and who cares?
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to move on to the next one. I'm calling this one, Shall We Play an Unreal Game? Yeah. This is a story from Computer World. Apple's arcade service is supposed to show that Apple is taking gaming seriously with arcade games able to be played on iPhones, iPads, Apple TV, and the Mac. A few notable game designers have reportedly signed up, including Lego, Sega, Konami, Disney, Sumo Digital, and Cartoon Network, with some exclusives only available through Apple's arcade service. Like nearly every service announced during the Showtime event, no prices or date of availability were mentioned. And we'll start with Warren. What do you think?
I'm kind of excited for it. I think that would be. I'm to seeing what they put on. I'm not a big gamer, and my son is, but he's probably advanced than what these are going to be. I think this is going to cater more to like, I'm thinking like the 8 to 12-year-old kid range, the ones that like these kind of like games and were continuously asking mom and dad for iTunes money to buy add-ins for the game, and now they'll be able to just.
And none of that is going to be part of that service.
Right. So this service is you pay a monthly fee, you get the full offline online game without a need to buy any add-ons for it. So that's what parents want. They want them to have games, and they're out there now, but you get tired of it. So the kids get tired and move to something else. So the only way it's going to succeed is if the games continue to grow. The catalog needs to grow, and it needs a killer game. So it needs something like Fortnite or something like that, where the kids are going to want to ask mom and dad to subscribe to it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So, it's definitely time to do it, and I'm hoping for the best. I think it's a good thing.
Do you think that the games that Apple or the games that developers are going to create for Apple Arcade are going to be any better than the ones they created for the Apple TV? Because those were honestly not that great.
Well, I don't know if they. I don't think they created that much for the Apple TV at all. But I mean, the thinking is it's going to be available to play on the Apple TV and the Mac and an iPad and an iOS device. So the thought would be that you could play it on an Apple TV if you want. Save your progress there, go onto an iPad, go onto the phone, and do it that way. It's sort of the Nintendo Switch kind of concept on that.
Okay, what do you think, Dave?
My Siri got nuts.
Full disclosure, I'm not a gamer, so I'm not much into the gaming world. But I kind of add on to what Warren said. I think Apple is smart getting in this. Gaming is a big market. I think something like Fortnite would be something that they should hope that takes off like it did over on the other side here. The other mentioned in the article is enterprise. I think that's an interesting take to see if mass market AR device deployment for games. It could also have an incidence for many of enterprises augmented reality experiences. I mean, I work for a company that does a lot of that type of virtualization with the goggles and with things of that nature, looking at floods and fire and all that stuff. So I can see this beyond just the kids and the gaming. It's got a full-out-fledged market to go between not only for consumers and for kids and adults alike. It can definitely go into the enterprise too.
You're talking about Apple, these so-called Apple glasses that everyone talks about except Apple?
I mean, it's just AR in general. Even if they do augmented reality on an iPad or an iPhone without the goggles, I mean, that would be a possible good concept for an enterprise, being able to show things in there and see how things look and so forth.
So, you think it would be would this be more geared toward the enterprise, or would it be more geared toward gaming?
It's
or
probably going to be
augmented reality for
thing.
gaming.
Augmented reality will be for gaming, yes, but I think it's got a potential, as this article mentions, with enterprise too. I think
so. It's been a long road getting from there to here. It's been a long road, but their time is finally here.
Yeah, it'll see.
I don't know if anybody remembers the Enterprise theme song.
Yeah.
Oh, my brain is just so.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes, and I think really at first it's going to be all the consumers. It's in their gaming platform, in competition with Xbox, in competition with PlayStation, and in competition with PC games. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes.
Okay, well then, let me ask you guys, based on what you saw during the Showtime event and some of the previous events that have taken place, is Tim Cook the best person to lead Apple in these types of presentations, or should Tim Cook simply stay in the background and continue to make Apple a lot of money? Maybe have a token presence when the event starts, and then just don't come back until the very end.
No, I think he should still keep doing it.
He's not the most exciting of presenters.
No, but he is the CEO of Apple. He is the leader of the company, and I still think that he should still at least do intros. But he does. It does, like, as each of these events go on, I'm seeing more and more where he's having other people do more presentations than what he does. He just does a lot of the introductions and such. With all the stuff with video, with the Apple, with TV Plus, and then you got Oprah coming up on stage, and he gets tears in his eyes, and that was a little over the top, in my opinion. But
the whole Apple TV Plus thing was over the top. I mean, I honestly don't think that they needed, and I talked about this on the MyMac podcast. Mm-hmm. Basically, and I'm sure you guys, I know, you're not as old as I am, but back.
Oh, you're gonna bring up Batman and Robin again, aren't you?
No, I am not going to bring up Batman and Robin. Back in the 60s and 70s, before the major American the major American TV networks would have what they would call Premiere Week. And
you're bringing
typically
up Batman
have.
And Robin again.
No,
Gilligan.
I'm not.
Gilligan,
right? Gilligan and the Skipper, and they would just show like little 30-second previews, and instead we had almost an hour of these people talking about shows that they didn't sell them. I didn't see a single presenter that had a show that made me sit there and go, wow, I really want to see that show. It wasn't there, including Oprah. So I don't get it. I don't know why they presented it in this way.
You have the public, you have investors screaming for Apple to do something, to show us something, tell us something new, all the time, constantly doing it. And here's a company that's just like, I guess we have to do this, and I guess we have to make this into a show. They're pressured. They're pressured to do this kind of stuff at this point. If people would just kind of relax and let them do what they need to do, then we would have had a better event with previews, and there would have been more time. But the investors are like, Apple, phones aren't selling as well as they used to, so we're all going to pull our money out unless Apple shows us something. Well, Tim Cook's here like, I don't know, what are we going to show them? We're working on this stuff. I guess we'll do this. That's what's going on. I mean, they don't have a choice. You don't, it's not like
but they have a choice in the way it's presented, and I don't know why they thought bringing out the stars was going to sell these TV shows.
Because they don't have any content ready to show yet.
Well, we're getting to the point where you got to kind of either put up or shut up. There's just not that much more time before people are going to expect an Apple TV Plus service, and if and people are going to be paying a lot of attention to this, and if it's not at least decent, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be as good as other services, but it's got to be ready to go, and it's got to have something there that people are going to be interested. Otherwise, it's going to be like all these social network services that Apple's rolled out over the years that have all bombed.
But people are clamoring for it because the rumors came out. And if these rumors don't come out, then this would have been a bombshell great thing when they were ready to do it. Oh, wow, we had no idea all this stuff. These rumors come out, And now, like, oh, well, Tim Cook's like, crap, now the rumor's out. Now we got to show them that we are really doing this, where they're going to keep bugging us. And that's, that's with the rumors. There was an article on Forbes. So Minji Kuo predicted that there was going to be a 17-inch MacBook at some point. All right. So, and then an article came out saying, you know what? He did predicted it, but it's going to be 2021 instead of 2020. So it's going to be a few more years or something like that. So that happened. Forbes article. 17-inch MacBook delayed. It's not delayed. It's not delayed.
It's never been announced. Nobody's talking about it except
people
analysts.
Take these rumors. Exactly. People take the rumors and then start to expect that that's reality. And Apple has to deal with that. So they have two choices. The rumors start out because you can't hide Oprah and you can't hide, Jennifer Aniston, because people see them coming and going. And
you could hide Jennifer Aniston behind Oprah.
You could hide Jennifer Aniston in my bedroom if you really wanted to.
Come on, she slimmed down.
She could be in my bedroom. She could be in my bedroom. So you can't hide it. You can't hide it. So they have to do something, and this is what they did. I mean, was it good? No, but I think that's what they had. I don't think they had a choice. I don't think they had a choice.
The whole second half of that presentation was a snooze fest, in my opinion. All right, but we're going to move away from that to something that that I find very, very interesting, something I've been talking about for a long time. This was an article in AppleInsider.com. Steve Jobs, when he was alive, said that most computer operating systems and architecture have about a 10-year life. In the case of Apple, that's not far off the mark. And Apple has done transitions from one type of operating system and one type of CPU several times in the course of their history. Even the original Mac OS for the Mac and the Lisa that came out in 83, 84 lasted until System 6 came out, and then System 7 was really kind of a whole brand new operating system. And we had System 7 until OS 10 came out. Then we switched from the Motorola 68 series processors to PowerPC, and then we went from PowerPC to Intel. But in each case, it was 10 to 15 years in between these various transitions, whether it was hardware or whether it was an operating system. So now we are at about the 15-year mark, 15-year mark with Intel x86 processors. And Apple has made several moves that lead me to believe that they are trying to control their own destiny 100%. With they bought their own ARM processor design firm. Now other people make these processors for them, but it's Apple's design for the ARM processor. So the question is, do either of you think that we are close, not close, years away from possibly switching the Mac OS to an ARM processor? And what would be the plus or minus in your opinion, Dave?
Well, Intel has been struggling for a long time. I think cost is really the key driver to this. And also, you also have to look at Apple's processors that they're putting in iPhones and iPads. They may want to bring it in house and try to make it where they've got control of where the processors go, because it's really installed where processors have gone, because Intel has been so slow in doing a lot of the different releases for their processors, and that slows down the PCs. There was an article today that PC sales are dropping dramatically. Same with Macs. So who knows where we're going to be in 10 years? I mean, it could be an all mobile device market coming soon. If it isn't already, people already have tablets, they already have iPads, they have all these types of devices. Once we get like an OS like a Mac OS on a tablet similar to an iPad, who knows what will happen. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. ARM, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed as whether or not they would go to it.
Yeah, we
See
all
what I
seen the
have.
remix. We don't need to see the remix again.
Yeah.
It's all nice. It's all good.
Okay, what do you what do you think, Warren?
Uh, well, when you were talking, you said what Steve Jobs said, and I think only Apple has done that kind of switch, because Microsoft has been on a 32, 64-bit Intel architecture since
Well,
inception,
since the
and,
beginning, right?
and they
But
haven't
at the
changed.
same time, it's only been recently when they started actually designing their own hardware, like in the last 5 years or so.
Yep.
So Apple has been the
Yeah,
only
yeah.
company of note that kind of had the whole enchilada, whether it was their operating system or their hardware, and it's the same
Yeah,
thing
but
with the phones and the iPad and everything else. Apple controls that entire thing from start to finish.
but Microsoft could have said, we're making Windows not run on Intel chips anymore, and you're gonna have to change your processors, Dell and HP and all that. They, what am I saying? They did. So Microsoft, going back to Microsoft, they do have some Windows on ARM machines out now. Um,
And it was a
they
failure, though.
the initial one was a failure with Windows RT,
Yeah.
but there's a few. Actually, is it ARM, Dave, or is it the Snapdragon? They have a few now.
I think
The
it's Snapdragon.
is it the ones with the Windows? So they're using a Snapdragon chip, not ARM, on a couple of machines.
Well, that's an ARM
That
chip, though.
it might be. So
Isn't the Snapdragon an ARM? It's an ARM design.
I don't know.
Qualcomm.
Qualcomm. It's Qualcomm. So, but if you look at them, they're still out there, and basically what they are CPU. The CPU is not very strong, but the battery does last a long time, and they have LTE chips built into them. So you'll see a couple, especially if you go to Microsoft Store, you'll see a few of them with the that are running full blown Windows on a Qualcomm chip. With
Yeah, but don't wait, because you won't. You'll have to stand in line to look at those.
in the Microsoft Store, yeah, there's
Yeah.
yeah, the line goes out the door into the Apple
It is
Store,
out the door.
and then the
Yeah.
Apple Store line goes into the Microsoft Store. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so they found a way to, anyways, they found a way to make it run on both chips at the same time, which brings me to what Apple would have to do, I guess, because they're not going to switch their entire lineup to ARM in one swoop. I don't think.
Well,
That'd be tough.
well, what they've done in the past with both the switch to PowerPC and the switch to Intel, they built an emulation layer so that PowerPC chips could run 68K compiled
PowerPC.
software. And then when they made the switch to Intel, there was a compatibility layer for PowerPC built in to that as well. And
Was that
the odd thing in both cases, they made the switch entirely to the new architecture in a year or less. Now, granted, when they've made the switch, not so much from the 68K chips, because they had a crap ton of different lines of computers that didn't really make that much of a difference. But when they made the switch to Intel, they had basically, you had the iMac, and then you had MacBooks and MacBook Pros, and you didn't have the Mini. And of course the Mac Pro. So there were like two desktops and two laptops that had to be switched over, and then various sizes of those. But that's semantics. A 21.5 inch iMac, for the most part, is the same as a 27-inch iMac with a smaller screen, and same thing with the 13 and the 15-inch MacBook Pros. There are some performance differences, but for the most part, the architecture is still the same.
I don't think there was there an iMac on PowerPC? I don't. Think
yeah,
there was.
yeah. The original iMac was the Bondi Blue G3.
Oh, that one. Okay, not the new design.
Yeah. Then you had the lampshade G4s,
Yeah.
And then you had the original G5 iMacs, which
But-
were like the
but not-
granddaddies to the ones that they have today.
The aluminum was the first Intel one, I think. Right? The modern design aluminum is
Yeah.
the first Intel. Yeah. So the lineup is a lot different, and it's more complicated too. People are doing things on Mac that they maybe weren't doing back then, such as virtualization and boot camp and development tools and things like that. That it's going to create a problem if they don't get it right.
You bring up an interesting conundrum. One of the benefits of switching to Intel from PowerPC was the fact that you could run Windows natively on a Mac, which you had to do an emulation before when the main push was still PowerPC. So if they switched to an ARM processor, would that still be the case, or would Apple run the same type of ARM-based version of Windows that Microsoft has? Or would they be able to use an emulated x86 layer for Windows in ARM chips? Now remember, we're talking about ARM chips, multiple cores, multiple processors, in order to have a similar or the same or possibly even more amount of power that you have in a typical MacBook Pro or typical iMac. Now, we're not talking about like the iMac Pro with 8 to 12 or however many Xeon cores they have in that monster. But for things like MacBook Pros and iMacs and Mac Minis, it would be probably not that difficult to come up with some kind of combination of ARM processors, each with multiple cores, that would give you the same or more kind of power that you have with Intel chips.
Maybe it's hypothetical. Who knows?
Well, it's all hypothetical.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think that's what I think is going to happen. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. Anything else on that topic, guys?
No.
All right. The MacStock Conference and Expo is coming up July 27th and 28th of 2019. They're in good old Woodstock. Yeah, he's got his hat on. Woodstock, Illinois. This is the fifth year. The fifth year for... You got to move it back. See, the blur effect is screwing with you guys. Everything is blurry. Everything is blurry. MacStock, this is the fifth year for MacStock. It is a great event. You get to be up close and personal with all the personalities that you watch or listen to here. And, I'll be there too. Dave will be there. Many other people will be there. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I'm doing a session this year other than the MyMac quiz, which was so much fun last year.
Yep. That's true.
Who is that?
What?
That's not
Bon Jovi.
I don't know who.
He'll be there too.
I don't think Bon Jovi will be there.
Yeah, because
Elvis might.
Might.
Elvis will be there before Bon Jovi will be there, and he's been dead since 1977. So,
Yes.
MacStock Conference and Expo.com. You can get $25 off a weekend pass by using the code MyMacGuy, all one word, $25 off. The 2-day pass gets you access to an event on Friday night for all the weekend pass holders. It gets you into the MyMac game night on Saturday night. All of the sessions. Basically, it gets you free reign to everything that's going to be going on that entire weekend. And I believe I haven't looked at the prices yet, but I think it's still under $200, isn't it?
It is.
Isn't it like $179, $199?
It's $179 is the early bird if you go out to the site now. And,
okay, well,
you sure
and you can get $25 off of that.
You better double check that, my friend, because
Well,
that's not
maybe.
what my discount is.
Okay, well, I know what your discount. Your discount is 0 because you're speaking.
Well, no, I'm talking about the discount of my offer code. I'm not saying.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever you get a significant amount off of the price of the weekend pass by using anyone's codes, whoever's codes it is that you're going to be
What's
using.
your code? MyMac?
MyMac Guy. So it's MyMacGuy.
You are
Dave,
my
if
Mac guy.
people wanted to get a hold, so go to this thing. It is so much fun. Dave, if people wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do it? I don't
They
have
would
all
go
the things, fancy
Yeah,
stuff
no,
this time.
that's fine. They would go to, and you get a $10 discount, by the way. I just tried it. They would go to intouchwithios.com. That's my podcast. And we have lots of fun out there. And I do weekly shows and talk about everything there is to know about iOS. And I also do a horse racing podcast, off the charts horseracing.com. That's what my buddy Steve was doing. That's my non-tech podcast. And I also mentioned I have an article that was just published in iPhone Life magazine. When that comes out on the newsstand, I did an article about podcast apps, and that will be it'll be on the newsstand very shortly in your neighborhood store. You should pick up a copy, or you can go to iPhoneLife.com, check that out when it comes out. It hasn't really been released just yet, but I'm just letting everybody know. It's because I got my advanced copies, and I was very proud to see that.
All right. Warren, how about you, sir? Come on.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just takes a second.
Facebook, I guess you can find me there.
Yeah, he's over there on Facebook.
Period.
And you do occasionally write articles over at mymac.com.
Oh, yeah,
I do.
Article.
I do reviews for Mr. John Nemo and mymac.com. I just reviewed some headphones, and tomorrow I'm getting it's called a short throw projector. It's basically a projector that is
you can toss.
It's short throw. Yes, you
Toss salad.
So it's a projector. So that should be fun.
Cool.
And I also write articles for Guy Serle on the Guy Serle show. No, I don't. I don't do that.
No. You should.
I should do that.
You should. You could. If you would like to see more of the stuff that I do, besides doing, of course, Mac to the Future, I also do the MyMac.com podcast nearly every single week with Mr. Gazmaz. You can find that in iTunes or over there at mymac.com. I also, this particular live cast, I turn into an audio file, and that'll be posted up in iTunes as well, with Guy's Daily Drive, which is a show I do in my car as I drive, but not every day, because nobody wants that. I'm actually I've been negligent of Guy's Daily Drive lately, just with so many other things going on. Yeah, it's been kind of a disaster. It's been a crash in my little Kia Soul. So I think is
Guy's
daily crash.
Stand still.
That is going to about do it for this week. We thank you all for joining us this evening, even with all the troubles that we had. I am eventually going to get to the bottom as to why Mimo Live has stopped Mimo living for me. And we can get your Facebook comments back on here. If not, I will figure out a way to do it here on OBS. So, Dave, thanks for being on tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Warren, good to have you here, dude. We shall see you all, hopefully, next week on the Mac to the Future podcast. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.